Isn't this a pretty sight? I haven't decided where I want to put my mums, but I may put them in that pot right up there. A couple of them anyway. Because that is just rooting in there that's in there right now, and it's not going to make it through the winter either. So I may put my mums up in there. I'm not sure yet. I think they'd be pretty up there in that pot. I've tried everything else. Why not mums? And the aloe vera is going crazy. I mean, that's freaky. Look at that. It's so big, I don't know where I'm going to put it in the house. It did, the plant did not survive out in the greenhouse last winter, even though I kept a heat light and all that on there. It got too cold for it. It completely froze. Killed the roots and everything. So I'm going to put it back in the house this year, like I've always done in the past years. And I'll also put my Mother of Millions right there. And the baby Mother of Millions. Because they're not going to live over the cold winter months that we have. Peppermint's really coming back to life there. The mandevilla's growing like crazy, but no blooms yet. So I don't know. What do y'all think of that? I thought it would have had blooms on it by now. I mean, my clematis is blooming. It's got several blooms on it and a big flower up there. And I can't wait till this hollyhocks. See, I remembered the name of it this time. Hollyhocks decide to get flowers. You see, there's a pretty light purple well, it's like a really light pale purple with darker purple on the outside of it. Let's get closer. Oh, see? Isn't that pretty? Lavender, purple. It's really pretty. Like I said, there's several different colors that I've got to the trellises, and I'm just dying for this one to bloom. This is the mandevilla, and I want to see the really bright fuchsia pink flowers on it. It's been looking like it's going to rain all day today. Hasn't rained yet. And there's little buddy. Look at there, my peppers are growing. We've got some that are about ready to be picked almost. My vines are all coming back to life. They love this cooler weather. All the peppers are getting full of bell peppers. They're getting top heavy. This is a really big one. Got a pepper started there. I saw one down here a minute ago. Yeah, there it is. It's not ready to be picked yet. And that tomato plant's still alive. I don't know if it'll have anything on it. That's a dwarf tomato. Dwarf Roma tomato, I think is what it was. I can't wait for the cold, to kill that back to where I can harvest the roots and see how big they got. My Egyptian walking onions. Look how tall they are. They're about 2 foot tall. And like I said, I planted them, like a month or so ago from the seeds that come up from the other walking onions, the seed bulbs. And they're not going to produce bulbs to plant this year. They're not going to walk. they'll die back down over the winter, and then in the spring, they'll come up and they'll start walking, and they'll start producing the little bulbs that you break off to replant. There's some marigolds, another pepper. Look at that. There's a whole clump of clematis drop there. And the top is full of them, the purple ones. Isn't that pretty? This whole arbor would have been full of them like that if it hadn't been so dry this summer. Dry and water rationing is what stunted the growth of my garden. There's a little one opening up there. There's several of them up there. I love flowers. And look there, my mandevilla is just blooming like crazy, but it's not had any tomatillos on there yet. So it was just too hot for it this summer. But my plants are coming up in there. I got marigolds, and that's that. I don't even remember the name of it, but I bought it one year and it dropped seed and it spread everywhere. I got a marigold there. There's some more bell pepper. Look at that. I don't know how good it's going to be, but my plants are full of bell peppers, little ones. And that really don't look like a bell pepper. That might be one of the other peppers. I don't know. I moved them around so much. That might be a hot pepper, but I don't think it is. I mean, it could be. But there's my walking onions back there. So that's 2 pots. I got 1 pot on the patio up there. So that's 3. 3 pots of walking onions. Look at all the peppers on there. They're little yet, but they're there. The tomato plants are trying to grow again. I just don't know if they'll be able to do anything. My tree collards. It's a jolly green tree collard, and I did spray them. And the worms still almost ate the leaves up. But I did spray them. And I've been putting my food scraps in my compost. And again, I'm not turning that. I'm just going to let it all break down. And when it breaks down, I'll put it in my pots. And it should be broke down by spring. I'm going to continue piling stuff in there, and I need to put some dirt in there, put more leaves in there, and then more food scraps, and continue on with the layers. There's my other walking onions. Look how tall they got. And see, if you like green onions, just the green, you have tons of green onions. You can just cut these off like giving it a haircut, and they'll grow back. And again, these are just planted this year, so they're not going to do anything till next spring. When they die back and come up in the spring, they're going to start walking, and they're going to have tons of little clusters of little onion bulbs that you can plant. See there? They're getting bigger. They're definitely getting bigger in there. But they're definitely getting top heavy. Look there. I had to tie that one up a while ago. Again, because I tied it up the other day and it come loose. Look at there. It's trying its best to put out little yellow squash. I mean, I don't know if they'll get big enough to do anything, but They are trying to put out squash. Look at that. If no animal comes along and finds them and eats them. And the eggplant is still growing, but it's not doing anything. I had to stake my okra up. The wind's blowing so hard and it's top heavy, where I'm leaving that on there to go to seed. Look at that. Those bell peppers are just going crazy since it's cooled off a little bit. There's bell peppers everywhere. If they just get big enough to do anything with. There's one in there. Some started on this plant, this little one. Some started on this one as well. You can't hardly see them. They're such a tiny little starch so far. Ain't that right, little buddy? They're just getting started. They're little babies. Yeah, he's trying to rub my legs and he's going to cause me to trip. And look at there. There's producing peppers. I had to stake them up. Still may have to re-stake them because the wind's blowing them everywhere. Watch out, little buddy. I'm going to step on you. But see, every one of them's producing peppers. They're doing like the hot peppers did last year. They waited till the end of the season and then all of a sudden they started putting out peppers. Only these are sweet peppers. Sweet peppers. And that one's finally started to really grow. It'll have peppers on it too. Ain't that right, buddy? Huh? Ain't that right, little buddy? He just keeps going in and out of my legs, just rubbing on my legs. I can't hardly take a step because I'll step on him or he's going to trip me. I need a leash on him, I guess. It's like he's walking, needs a leash. Those are putting out blooms to have peppers. I need to throw this cucumber in the compost bin. Yeah, that's my no turn. I'm not even going to try to turn it this year. It'll break down just like it is. And every time it rains, it'll wash down all the stuff from the food scraps and leaves and all that stuff right on down to the bottom. So I'm not worried about it. I'm not turning it. It's too hard to turn it. And it looks like my greens need to be harvested again. Look at there, how much they've grown since I harvested them before. And that's that Swiss chard. There's several different types of Swiss chard and kale, giant kale, and other greens that I've got growing. And see, all these beans are coming up that I planted the other day because it's been cooler and the ground stayed damper. But they're all coming up. Got more coming up here. Got them here in the buckets where I moved the buckets in here. Right there. And right there in that pot. And I'm just going to let them all come up the trestle. And what I've been doing with these foot-long beans, look at this. When they get big enough, I break them off. I pop, break them like I'm going to cook them. I put them in a little baggie and put them in the refrigerator. See there, look at that. How long those beans are. But you have to plant enough plants for it to do you some good. And see, these are started here. Foot-long noodle beans. Love them. You don't want to leave them on there till they get too big, because if you do, they'll get too tough. And I got to start doing my rose bushes to get them. Isn't that basil pretty? Look how pretty it's gotten. And it's trying its best to go to seed, and I'm not going to let it. But it smells amazing. It really does. It smells amazing. Got another big basil right there on this side. I need to harvest it and dry some more, I guess. I got so many jars of basil now, I don't know what I'm going to do with it all. But that needs to be harvested. See that tip? That's a really sweet basil right there. If you'll catch it right now before it goes to seed, that's a good time to harvest that, when it does that. It has a lot of flavor in it. And see the greens there? Look how much they've grown since I harvested them the other day. This poor tomato bush, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. It's growing crazy. My roses trying their best to bloom. They look straggly, but it's alive, and it'll be beautiful next year. I mean, it hasn't had time to rebound yet. My okra, more basil. Not basil, but mint, peppermint. My pink rose. The red rose over there trying to bloom. Okra. Look at all the blooms on the pepper. Poor tomato plant gave up, I guess. Okra. Got okra there. Okra. I needed to come out here and harvest some of this. Some of it's not too big. I could eat it. But it's getting away with me. I just didn't notice it. See, all those are small enough that they're edible. Now this one probably isn't. I don't know, it might be. Because it's a bigger okra, because it's a long okra. And see, this one's putting out okra. Look at that. And up here. And down here. I could probably come out here and cut a bunch to cook for a meal. And I don't remember what kind of melon or what it was I planted in there. And there's the squash. I don't know, the wind's blowing it around to where it's not looking good anymore. Look at that, the giant kale. Isn't that pretty? And the good thing about it, the bugs will not eat that. They leave that alone. But I got a melon plant growing over the top of it. Yep, I got a melon or squash. Look at that. Hopefully no animal will find that. That might be one of my winter squashes or my butternut squash. Like I said, I didn't tag them this time because it usually doesn't do any good to tag them. Everything gets all mixed up anyway. There's bell peppers on here. And that is supposed to be a shark fin. I mean, that's what was on the package of the seed. But I don't know. Everybody, I've looked it up on the internet, and most of the shark fin has big black seeds. I got okra there and some greens coming up. Has big black seeds. But when I cut one of those last year, it was like a big zucchini with stripes. It didn't have black seeds. I have more Swiss chard and kale coming up in there. That's growing beautiful. It's got a lot of blooms. I don't know if it's going to produce anything, but it's looking good. And look at there, the lettuce we planted. It's growing. Evidently it likes it there. It's growing. A Swiss chard. My melon. We keep an eye on this melon. Look at there. Like I said, I don't know if there's any more back there or not. I haven't been back there to look. And I don't know about this. It got all these blooms and now it seems to be wanting to die off. Maybe it doesn't like the cooler weather. I don't know. Don't know. But it was blooming like it was going to put out a bunch of fruit. And then basically it didn't do anything, so I don't know. And that's a yellow squash. Look at that. My basil. Let's see if we can see any more melons back there. I can't see. Maybe we'll look on the other side. And if they do grow melons back there, I don't know how in the world I'm going to get to them. To go back there behind there, I guess, somehow. I don't see any, but that doesn't mean there's not some there, because a lot of times you don't really see them. Something coming up in the corner right there. I don't know what it is. But yeah, I thought that's neat. Look at that grow. And I've been meaning to get some wood chips and put on here to keep the dirt from splattering up on the lettuce. I might just do that. I might get some in my hand. Might get some on my hand to be able to put enough there to do some good. It's cool out here today. It really feels good. But it feels like it's going to rain, and we didn't really call for rain. Get this bucket, fill it up over here. I'll show you where I'm going. I'm just going right over here to the corner of that gray tote where the wood chips are kind of thick back here. I didn't intend to do this when I came out here. But I'm going to do it since I'm out here because, like I said, it feels like it wants to rain. I mean, it may not, but it sure feels like it wants to. lot of these other ones need to be done that way too. And I've ordered me some more buckets because those are real thin and they're drying out really quick. Those little yellow ones. Because they just really weren't made for this. To be out here in this hot sun day after day. But they've served their purpose for this summer. And that's all I can ask, you know. I don't know what this is, whether it's squash. But there's a bunch of females, there's a bunch of males, but it's like this one, I don't know if it's going to do anything. I broke some of these old bad looking leaves off, thinking it would help make it grow. So these big ugly leaves are not pulling all the water from the rest of the plant. Put it right down back in there. Because you break them off and your hands are all wet. There's so much water in the leaf. But that part is still good, so we'll see what happens with it. I don't know where little buddy went. And I don't know what that is. The watermelon vine died. See how big that kale is? Well, the Swiss chard. Look at those leaves. In other words, it's called either Swiss chard or giant kale. But I love it. Just look how big the leaves get. I mean, that's beautiful right there. Got something coming up in there. I don't know what. There too. Right there. May not do anything. But I got okra coming up in here where the Swiss chard or kale was. Walking onions, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pots of walking onions, Egyptian walking onions. So I ought to have a bunch of little baby bulbs to replant or give away or sell or do something with next year. There's more of my Swiss chard that I planted. It's still little. And look at here. This might be a hot pepper. I don't know. The way it's growing, it might be. It might be the 1 or 2 only hot pepper plants I've got this year. Because that doesn't seem to be growing like a bell pepper. That's more like a jalapeno or habanero or whatever they call them. Let's see the Swiss chard. Look at that. Isn't it beautiful? I'm definitely planting Swiss chard next year. Giant kale is basically Swiss chard. That's what that is. It's beautiful. And this pepper plant, I haven't seen a pepper on it yet. But it's got a bunch of bulbs. It's got where it started one right there. And I planted a Swiss chard in there. It's so pretty. I said I'm going to plant Swiss chard at the base of my clematis next year as well. Because clematis likes something growing at the base to give the roots shade. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to plant Swiss chard in both of them next year. I think I put some over here, but it died. It didn't grow. But my clematis is growing for a change, and it should be growing. It's late in the summer. But I got marigolds. And that's more of that. It's almost like a cactus, but it puts out a bunch of blooms. That's come up in there voluntarily from a plant that I had several years ago. Check on my stuff that I planted the other day. I really need to finish my rock garden here. I need to get probably about 10 or more bags of concrete mix to finish this, 10 to 15 bags to do what I want to do. Because I want to make it bigger, and I want to make it so I can put bigger pots here. But this will do for now. That'll, you know, those plants will grow good there. Those pots are big enough, I think. Until I can do better. Squirrel's been trying to go up the pole again. And there goes some of the moonflowers trying to come up from the roots that were there from last year. There's the one I planted the other day, and there's one I planted the other day. It's looking good, so I think it'll be okay. There's two little ones there I planted. They'll be fine. And the ones in the pots back there are okay. And I got one or two, I think, back here. They don't grow good on this side because it's in the shade a lot. And I found that moonflowers like the sun. I need to get water to that one in the middle pot that's kind of drooped over. Look at there. That flower bloomed the other night and died, and that's how it closes up. And it'll stay on there till it dies. It'll fall off. And then this thing right here will form a big bulb, a ball, a spike ball like this thing right here. Well, you can't really see it. It's already opened up, probably dropped seeds. Oh, here's one. There's one of the bulbs that it forms, and it's full of seeds. It's probably got a couple of hundred seeds in that thing. And it's spiky. Looks like a porcupine. And when it dries, it'll stick you. It don't stick so bad right now. The ends will kind of bend and break. But when it dries, it'll be real hard and it'll stick your fingers. There's my Swiss chard. And see, these are getting ready to open right here. Right here. That one there's getting ready to open. Look how much Swiss chard I got down in here. I need to thin some of that out. But isn't that pretty? That's one reason I put it out here. I said, well, I can eat it and it'll look good too. And there's one there fixing to open. So, look at all these little white flowers. They're all over the yard. I hate to mow when all these little flowers are up and they're blooming. It looks pretty. And here goes my pineapple tree. The one we planted just the other day. I planted it at a good time, I think. Because we'll be getting rain and cooler temperatures, so it'll be able to not dry out. Look at the little yellow squash here. Look at all those. Another Swiss chard. Look at those leaves. Aren't they pretty? They're beautiful plants when it's not so dry. I got another Swiss chard right there with all this basil. And I think the tomato plant's loving this trestle that Bloomin' sent. I think it's grown a foot since I put it in the trestle. I'm glad I got it when I did, because if it had got any bigger, I wouldn't have been able to get that trestle over it. There's moonflowers in this pot. Yeah, I need to start thinking about, and I don't know what kind of tomato that is or if it's going to do anything, but I've got another wire cage I can put over that because I don't know how big that will get. The rose bushes are trying to get leaves on them, and I need to trim some to root some in the greenhouse. And I was going to do that today, but I was being lazy. It's like, you know, there's days that you just can't get motivated. See there's one of those little bulbs. It's a ball that forms from where the flower was. And you have to leave it on there till it gets brown looking and dried out looking. It'll start to split open, and when it starts to split, you need to cut it off. Because it's going to split open and it'll drop all those hundreds of seeds right on the ground. Now, unless you want the plants to come up there. If you want more plants to come up in the same spot, then leave it. Just let it drop the seeds. See, there's another one. So I'm going to have to keep an eye on them. There's one under here. Right there. So from one plant, you'll have, oh my God, gobs of seeds. Look at there. There's 3 up here. And remember, there's a couple of hundred seeds in one pod. You just have to let them dry out and keep your eye on them. And gather your seeds before they drop. Because see, if I let them drop here, they're going to go in the rocks and go in the rock garden. I don't know. It might be a good thing if they start coming up in the rock garden. I can't get nothing else to live in there much. Maybe the moonflowers will live over there. So we'll see. They sure started coming up here. Those that I pulled up the other day thinking there were sunflowers in the beginning. Because I wasn't sure. You know, I had planted, I've got, look at here. Marigolds. Those are marigolds. I need to get them up and put them in the pot. It's like 4 marigold plants right there. Yeah, when I'm finding them, I'm pulling them up. And I'm putting them in the pot. See if I can find something to make a hole with. See, y'all, this is the way I do a lot of my planting. I walk around the yard and I find volunteer plants coming up. Because, you know, I had marigolds in this the beginning of the summer. So evidently some of the seeds fell out. And they dried. And then when we started getting a little bit of rain and it got the ground wet, well, it let my plants grow. And I'm probably going to end up with too many in here. If there's any more coming up, I'm going to put them out in another pot. Need to get something else to make my hole with. But I know this pot stays damp enough usually. But I know those are marigolds. I'm not being fooled by them. I know those are marigolds. Kind of straggly looking ones, but they're marigolds. Evidently, they probably weren't deep enough when they started sprouting up. But yeah, I do this all the time. I walk around the yard and I'm looking at stuff, and before you know it, I'm replanting. My little squash pot needs water. Compost tea, that is. Need to put some more to these too, I think. When I put water out the other night, I'm turning the wrong always get hold of the wrong deal here. What I need to do is I'm going to dip some compost tea and put it to my basil in these pots right here. And my Swiss chard. It's easy to keep these watered because they're right here. And really they could go another day or so without water because they're not dried out, but I don't know about that peppermint. I think the peppermint's been getting too much water, actually. Because it's got a tray under it, and I think it's been keeping too much water in it. Let it drain out a little bit. Sometimes things can get too much water, and it'll make the roots rot, or it'll make the plant die. The roots might survive and it might come back again, but I'm going to water this one up here. And I'm sorry, I swung that camera around. Put a little bit to these and then I'll be done. And it's plant food too, man. It smells. Smells pretty right. Put a little bit up here. Because I've got kale growing in there and I've got a basil. And I have not seen any hummingbirds today. It might be getting too cool for them. Or they might be coming, you know, they may have come during the middle of the day when I wasn't out here and I didn't see them. So, this the time of the year that they leave anyway. But they'll be back next year. For the most part, my crepe myrtles have come back. See the green one out there at the flagpole? I thought that one was a goner, but it's all pretty and green. That one out there at the corner of the yard where the rocks are, I don't know. If there's anything alive with that at all, it's going to be the roots. So, about it. So, it was just so cool. I just had to get out there and look at stuff. Take y'all with me. It's not usually this cool out here with the wind blowing slightly. And see here, look. That poor big rose, that's the oldest rose bush I've got. And I thought it was a goner there one time. Part of it is dead, but look at there. It's putting out blooms. It's putting out pink roses. It's getting more leaves on it. And see, that's one reason why I'm waiting to cut my clippings to root, because a lot of these stems are dead and I need to cut them off, get rid of them. And then I can see the ones that are still alive that put out leaves. The ones that are still alive are the ones I want to cut. I don't want to cut the dead ones and try to root them because they're not going to root. So that's why I've been dragging my feet on that. And look at my bearded iris. I probably need to pull up the strings. That was a little grid that I fixed on there as support so they wouldn't all lay over this past summer. And it did the job, but, you know, I need to get rid of the string now because probably most of it is getting rotten and stuff. But they're not going to be blooming till the spring, till about Easter time. But look, they're still spreading, and I don't know what I'm going to do with them if they spread anymore. I know what I might do. If that rose bush is completely dead, I may just dig it up and thin out my irises and move irises over that way. Just make the bed of irises bigger and not try to put a rose bush back there. We'll see. Like I said, sometimes those rose bushes will look dead like that, and you'll think for sure they are completely dead. But I've dug them up when they looked like that before, and I could have kicked myself because down in that hole was a brand new shoot, even with little leaves on it coming up from the bottom of the root. So if I'd have left it, it would have put out another rose bush, you know. The dead part's gone. But it would have put out another rose bush from the roots down there. So I'm going to wait and see. I'm not going to get shovel happy and start digging stuff up because it looks dead right now. It'll stay here all winter and we'll see. Now I'm hoping this is a good spot for it. For my pineapple tree. Because it's about the only place in the yard I can dig a hole deep enough to even plant it. But I've had a rose bush there before. And it got took over with grass, and I think I dug it up and moved it. But I think that pineapple bush will look good there. And it only gets to be about 5 foot tall and about 3 to 4 foot across. So that should be plenty enough space for it, I think. So anyway, that's what I've been doing today. Not much and nothing, but thinking about doing it. You ever been like that? Spend most of the day thinking about doing something, but you don't ever do it? I do a lot of that. So, well, starting to get dark out here, so. And I'm getting tired. The way this wind's blowing, it's blowing that stuff in my face that I'm allergic to. That's why I'm coughing. But I wish it would just break down and rain good. We still might get rain before in the morning. I tell you, the sky looks kind of funky back over this way. To you. Oh, the light come on. I forgot I got a light up there. See if the light will go off if I back away. But if that light would go off, I could show it to you. I've got motion lights all over the yard, so they come on. But the sky right back there, you can't see how dark it looks through the camera, but you can in real life. It looks really dark all along the treetops up there. And back over here too. Those dark rain clouds. I wish it would just pour down rain. They weren't calling for any rain, so we may not get any. But see how green everything is turning? Everything will green up just about time for it to come a good freeze. Yeah, I would have went ahead and my rosebush clippings and had them in my pots to root, but my poor rose bushes haven't recovered from dying back from the heat this summer yet, so I got to give them a chance to revive themselves a little bit, and then I'll cut some. But maybe you can, well, you can't see it. It does not show up as dark in the picture in the camera as it actually is back there. So, but anyway, that's the last from the Hauser garden. The Hauser and Little Buddy garden. The latest on everything. So, y'all please like, share, subscribe to my videos. Tell everybody to watch my videos. It's pointless to produce videos if no one watches them. The whole idea of producing the videos is for people to watch them, enjoy them, maybe learn something. And that's the only way I make anything off my videos is from you watching them. So don't ask for money, just watch my videos. It's all free. So with that, I'm going to wish y'all a good night or a good day. I'll see you on my next one. Bye now.